Okay, my name is George Binder, and I've been asked to give my personal recollection of life in the Great Depression. I was born in 1924, so I was 5 years old when the stock market crashed in October of 1929. It had a very significant effect on my family because my father had recently left a very good job as foreman of one of the 4 plants of the world's largest die casting company to go into business with a friend in Rochester, New York. We had been living in Pottstown, Pennsylvania. And of course, when the market crashed and business followed, he lost his job, and he suddenly had a family and no income. So he scrambled and tried to do several things to put bread on the table. I remember one of them was he'd be going door to door trying to sell silk stockings. And of course, that was a lot of hard work and very little income. So it wasn't long before the family packed up and moved back to Pottstown, Pennsylvania. And although we owned a house there, we had leased it out. And so we had to move in with my grandparents until the lease was up and we could move into our own home. I remember my dad having a hard time getting a job. A friend had a gas station and he got a very menial job working around the gas station. And my grandfather had the parts of 2 bicycles, one that had belonged to his son, my uncle, and the other had belonged to I guess my mother, his daughter. And he took these 2 bicycles, neither one worked, and made one bicycle out of it that would. And I remember my mother packing my dad a lunch and him pedaling off on that bicycle to the gas station downtown where he worked. In those days, there was no welfare. People just got by on either their savings or their family. Or however, I can remember men coming by the house and offering to do work for a meal. Sometimes I guess there were little things that my mother could have them do, but she always found a way to at least make them a sandwich, give them a glass of milk or something. So that was sort of a way of life back then. One of the things my father did to try to make a little extra money, he set up raising white mice and white rats in his garage, and also guinea pigs that were used in medical research. Again, that was a lot of hard work and not too much money coming from it. And this went on for quite a few years, for several years. I remember being a selfish little kid, I felt very bad about I was the oldest of four children, and I felt like, well, why did I have to be the oldest? Because here I am suffering through the Depression, and they're too little to care. And by the time they get to be my age, this thing will be over, and we'll be back living a comfortable life again. But along about 1934, my father got an offer from the company that he had been with to be night superintendent in their plant in Toledo, Ohio. So the family packed up and moved west. And about this time, I finished elementary school, and I was ready as soon as we got to Toledo to enter the 7th grade. And this was 1935, I believe. And within a year, I hit 12, and the culture in those days was that, well, once you got to be 12 years old, you ought to be helping the family out. So I I got myself my first paper route, and I felt very fortunate because they had just raised the price of the newspaper from 2 cents a copy to 3 cents a copy. So I paid 2 cents for my papers, and I got to keep the penny of the profit. And in those days, you had to go collect money from your customers every week. So 18 cents a week for 6 days. We didn't have a Sunday edition. And you learned a lot about human nature then, because while some people were kind and maybe would give you 20 cents or a quarter and tell you to keep the change, others wouldn't even pay you. They'd find ways to hide in the house or be gone when you came. There was a number of times when people would run up a bill for a month or two and then just skip town and move away. So I was stuck with all. That was a total loss. It had to come out of my profits. So you learned a lot about human nature. And I remember one of the very first things I did when I got my paper route was to go buy a bicycle. Paid $35 for a bicycle. I think I paid it off about $1 a week or something like that. And I paid for my pleasure. My pleasure pretty much consisted of Friday night at the local movie house where I could get in. I was small then. I could get in for 10 cents. I could get quite a bit of candy for a nickel. And when the movie was over, my friend and I would go across the street where we would get a homemade hamburger on the grill there, with grilled onions and everything, good one for 5 cents, and a drink. So that was a big night on the town, 25 cents. But of course, I worked the whole week for $1.80. So it was a totally different amount of money back then. And of course, once my dad was back working for the company, things got better for the family. And I remember one really big incident, very good fortune for the family, was they introduced what they called bank night at the local movie theaters to try to promote people coming to the movies. And each week they had a prize given to anyone who either came to the movie or had, if you came to the movie or registered, your name went in the hat. And if you'd been to the movie, you were eligible to put your name out. If you missed that particular week, well, then the sum that was to be given out carried over to the following week. Well, it turned out that there was quite a few weeks when nobody's name was pulled from the hat had been at the movie. And the very first time someone had, it turned out it was my mother. And she won the grand sum of $1,350, which today doesn't sound like a whole lot of money. But then it would buy, we used half of it to buy a new automobile, fully tricked out, and the other half went to pay down the mortgage of the house. So that turned out to be quite a bonanza, and needless to say, my parents were very religious about going to the movies and signing up for all the bank nights ever since. I was fortunate and did very well in school, but I knew my family was not well-to-do, so I doubted if I would ever be able to go to college. But I did luck out on what was the equivalent of the Scholastic Aptitude Test back then, and I did get the highest score in Northwestern Ohio, and so that sort of tipped me over to the point of, by golly, I should go to college, and I enrolled at the University of Toledo and got started on my collegiate education.